Hello and welcome to This Date in History, also known as TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred to date in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things that we, of course, find intriguing enough for us to bring to you. The sources of this information comes from the smart device application, Today in History, What Happened Today in History,
Historical calendar,
and the website onthisday.com. For links to those sources, the music, and anything else we gather throughout the show, check the description. Anyway, I am A.O. Xander.
I'm me.
And today is Tears Day, also known as Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. I don't know what I'm trying to do with my fingers here. Why don't you start us off today?
752, Mayan King Bird, Jaguar, the fourth Yaxchilian, modern day Chiapas, Mexico, assumes the throne.
Doing almost a two times time jump here in 1481, the largest of three earthquakes struck the island of Rhodes and caused an estimated 30,000 casualties. Dang.
Holy shit. Also, 1491, Congo monarch Kiwi Mizina is baptized by Portuguese missionaries adopting the Basmil name of João the First.
Jumping on up into 1568, angered by the brutal onslaught of Spanish troops at Fort Caroline, a French force burned the San Mateo fort and massacred hundreds of Spaniards.
1616 Treaty of London ends a French Civil War.
Those French always having wars with themselves, and if not with that, then with Europe. Yeah. Why don't you take the next one here?
1715, a total solar eclipse is visible across northern Europe and northern Asia, as predicted by Edmund Halley, within 4 minutes accuracy.
Dang. Within 4 minutes back in those times, that's pretty accurate. Jumping on up into 1791, the Constitution of May 3rd, which is the first modern constitution in Europe, was proclaimed by the Sejm of Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Cool. And then in 1802...
Go ahead, continue.
In 1802, Washington, D.C. was incorporated as a city after Congress abolished the Board of Commissioners, which was the district's founding government. The city of Washington was given a mayor-council form of government. Alright. That's interesting. And it wasn't until recently where they even got the right to vote, right? It was like 1980s or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in 1808, Finnish War, Sweden loses the fortress of Theoborg to Russia.
Dang. Yeah, Russia and Sweden always at war with each other. Mainly Russia being the aggressor. But anyway, also in 1808, during the Peninsular War, the Madrid rebels who rose up on May the 2nd were executed near Principe Pio Hill. Dang. And then in 1815, during the Neapolitan War, my brain was trying to say Napoleonic, but that's not Napoleonic. Joachim Murat, king of Naples, was defeated by the Austrians at the Battle of Tolentino, which was a decisive engagement of the war. The decisive engagement of the war. So, well, yeah, I mean, the king was defeated. So, Sohen, what happened in 15 years after that? Alright.
1830, the Canterbury and Whitstable Railway is opened. It is the first steam-hauled passenger railway to issue season tickets that include a tunnel.
Interesting. 18 years later, in 1848, the boar-crested Anglo-Saxon Benty Grange helmet was discovered in a barrow on the Benty Grange farm in Derbyshire. Boar-crested Anglo-Saxon Benty Grange helmet. Let me look that up real quick. It has to... Let's see here. 7th century. Alright, what does it look like? Ah, okay, that thing. Alright. That's pretty cool. The first link in the underbar today. Mr. Sohan,
Yeah,
1849.
1849. The May Uprising in Dresden begins the last of the German revolutions of 1848 and 1949.
Ah. In 1855, American adventurer William Walker departed from San Francisco with about 60 men to conquer Nicaragua. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Some weird thing. Like, they actually just traveled, and I don't think they were too successful. I don't know. It was an interesting story. If anybody out there watching this can find that, send me links to that in the description. I'd like to watch that again. Anyway, moving on up into 1901, the Great Fire of 1901 began in Jacksonville, Florida. And in 1913, Raja Harishchandra, the first full-length Indian feature film, was released, marking the beginning of the Indian film industry. And for all of you who likes Bollywood, this that comes out of this. So
1920, a Bolshevik coup fails in the Democratic Republic of Georgia.
Those Bolsheviks, always Bolsheviking around. 365 days later, in 1921, Ireland was partitioned under British law by the Government of Ireland Act in 1920, creating Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. I'm all for a free Ireland.
1921, West Virginia becomes the first state to legislate a Ford sales tax, but does not implement until a number of years later due to enforcement issues.
Yeah, sales tax can just kiss my rear end. So, 7 years later, 1928, the Jinsen incident began with the deaths of 12 Japanese civilians by Chinese forces in Jinan, China, which led to Japanese retaliations and the death of over 2,000 Chinese civilians in the following days. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, these people, they hate each other. What Japan did to China in World War II was horrific. What China's doing to the world now is even worse. What North Korea's doing is always bad. But don't have any sympathy for any of them. They all hate each other. So. What happened in 1939?
1939, the All-Indian Forward Bloc is formed by the Harishchandra Bose.
Alright. Now, why don't you tell us what happened 3 years later as well?
1942, World War II, Japanese naval troops invade Tulaga Island in the Solomon Isles during the first part of Operation Mode that results in the Battle of the Coral Sea between Japanese forces and forces from the United States and Australia.
Dang. 3 more years later, 1945, during World War II, the sinking of the prison ships Cap Arcona, Theobek, and Deutschland by the Royal Air Force in Lubeck Bay occurred. Let's just hope there's nobody on it. In 1947, new post-war Japanese constitution went into effect. Good.
1948, the U.S. Supreme Court rules in Shelley versus Kramer that covenants prohibited the sale of real estate to blacks and other minorities are legally enforceable.
Unenforceable. Yeah. Like, everything on paper is on paper. Just because there's laws against, bigotry doesn't mean it doesn't occur. To everybody. 1951, London's Royal Festival Hall opened with the Festival of Britain. Cool. Also in Also in 1951, the United States Senate Committee on Armed Services and United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations began their closed-door hearings into the relief of Douglas MacArthur by U.S. President Harry Truman. I don't like anything talked behind closed doors, and MacArthur should have been listened to. Patton should have been listened to. You know, I've said this multiple times on these shows. If we had listened to these great men and not gotten politics involved in warfare, then the world would be a much better place. You know,
we would have been the enemy to a common cause.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not wrong.
So either listening to them, it would either be good or bad. You never know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on up into 1957, in which Walter O'Malley, the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, agreed to move the team from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. My mom was a Dodgers fan when they were out there. She was born in Brooklyn, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
And they've been in LA ever since, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, she was born in New York, I think Brooklyn, I don't know. And then she spent most of her childhood in Vegas, and then at some point she ended up out here. But she was also in Arizona for a time as well, in her early adult years. But yeah, no, like the team kind of followed her, which was pretty cool. So, anyway, 6 years later, in 1963, the police force in Birmingham, Alabama, switched tactics and responded with violent force to stop the quote-unquote Birmingham campaign protesters. Images of this violent suppression were transmitted worldwide, bringing newfound attention to the civil rights movement. Good.
1968, 85 people are killed when Danville International Airways Flight 352 crashes near Dawson, Texas.
Ah. 1971, Erich Honecker became first secretary of the Socialist Unity Party of Germany, remaining in power until 1989. Wow, that's 18 years.
1978, the first unsolicited bulk commercial email, which will later be known as spam, is sent by a digital equipment corporation marketing representative to every apparent address on the west coast of the United States.
Yeah, that's spam. And I hate the fact that they use the word spam because, like, you know, people hate spam, but, like, have you ever tried baking it? Have you ever tried cutting it into thin slivers and baking it? It's crispy meat chips. Dip it in ketchup. Good. You know, but, well. Anyway, 1979, Margaret Thatcher won the United Kingdom general election. The following day, she became the first female British Prime Minister. Nice, nice.
1986, 21 people are killed and 40 are injured after a bomb explodes on Air Lanka Flight 512 at Colombo Airport in Sri Lanka.
Dang. Anyway, 365 days later, in 1987, a crash by Bobby Allison at the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Fencing at the start-finish line would lead to NASCAR to develop the restrictor plate for the following season, both at Daytona International Speedway and Talladega. Dang. So.
1999, infiltration of Pakistani soldiers on Indian side results in the Karlagi War.
Pakistan. Stop with the shenanigans.
Also, 1999, the southwestern portion of Oklahoma is devastated by an F5 tornado, killing 45 people, injuring 665, and causing $1 billion in damage. The tornado is one of 66 from the 1999 Oklahoma tornado outbreak. This tornado also produced the highest wind speed ever recorded, measured at 301 miles, 20 miles per hour.
301 plus or minus 20 miles per hour. So, you know, 301 give or take 20 is what that means. So,
yeah.
Which is 484 plus or minus 32 kilometers per hour. 1 year later, in the year 2000, the sport of geocaching began with the first cache placed and the coordinates from a GPS posted on Usenet. Geocaching has always sounded intriguing to me, and I've always wanted to try it, but yeah.
2001, the United States loses its seat on the UN Human Rights Commission for the first time since the commission was formed in 1947.
It took that long? Wow. 5 years later, in 2006, Armavia Flight 967 crashed into the Black Sea near Sochi International Airport in Sochi, Russia, causing the deaths of 113 people. Isn't that where they held the Olympics, Sochi?
I think so.
Yeah.
Also, 2007, the three-year-old British girl Madeleine McCann disappears in Praia de Luz, Portugal, starting the most heavily reported missing persons case in modern history.
Dang. 8 years later, in 2015, 2 gunmen launched an attempted attack on anti-Islam event in Garland, Texas, which was held in response to the Charlie Hebdo shooting.
2016, 88,000 people are evacuated from their homes in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada, as a wildfire rips through the community, destroying approximately 2,400 homes and buildings.
Dang. Yeah, fire is no joke, man. Like, it can develop its own weather, like, that can cause winds. Like, I have personally seen a fire go up a 200-foot hill like that. Like, it's not a joke. So, anyway, before we get to bursts and deaths here, any articles grab your interest today?
Too many to count.
Yeah. Now that we're paying attention, like every day, like as the history said, history is made every day. Well, it is, and it has been, But the geocaching thing was pretty cool. The tornado thing, that fire, Anyway, let's get into bursts here. Why don't you start us off?
490, Cayenne Joy Chitan, ruler of Palanque.
612, we have Constantine III. He was a Byzantine emperor. Oh, this guy gives your name a run for its money. Well, at least what you used to be, your name.
Juan de la Cruz Vasquez Gutierrez, Spanish abbess of the Franciscan Third Order Regular.
What year was she born in?
1481.
Ah. In 1632, Catherine of St. Augustine, I think that's supposed to be Augustine, French-Canadian nurse and saint who founded the Hôtel Dieu de Quebec. Oh.
And 1662, Matthias Daniel Popelman, German architect who designed the Pillsnitz Castle.
I gotta see this. What does the Pillsnitz Castle look like? Let's see. Pillsnitz Castle. Images. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Really interesting. Nice photographs here. Good groundwork. Pond. Fountains. Nice. Anyway, who else was born today? 1695, we have Henri Pitot, a French physicist and engineer who invented the Pitot tube. What is the Pitot tube? Let me look that up real quick. A Pitot tube, also known as a Pitot probe, is a flow measurement device used to measure fluid flow velocity. Alright. That's interesting. For any more information you wish to have on the Pitot tube, check the description in the underbar for the link to it, which I'm posting right now. 1729, we have Florian Leopold Gassman, a Czech composer. Well, let's hope he wasn't too gassy of a man, Actually, he was a composer, so maybe he was working with wind instruments?
1783, Jose de la Riva Aguero, Peruvian soldier and politician who was the first president of Peru and the second president of North Peru.
Now, Now that's interesting. Did Peru have a revolution or something? 1844, Richard d'Oyly Cartier was born on this date. He was an English talent agent and composer.
Do this one, please.
Okay. 1867, we have J.T. Hearn. He was an English cricketer, and his full name was John Thomas Hearn. Let me add that in here real quick. Copy, paste, paste. And then 1871, we have Emmett Dalton, a American criminal. Let me look him up real quick. What crime did he commit? Like tax evasion, you know. Oh, he was an outlaw, a train robber, and a member of the Dalton Gang in the American Old West. All right. Well, that's interesting.
It does. In 1874, Francis Coit, French businessman and publisher who founded Coit Inc.
Huh.
And in 1879, Fergus McMaster, Australian businessman and soldier who co-founded Qantas.
Interesting.
Hey, you know what gloves is in Spanish?
What?
You know how you pronounce gloves in Spanish?
Gloves?
Yeah, gloves.
I don't know.
Guantes.
Guantes. Oh.
Yeah, Guantes dick.
Boo.
Okay. But no, it's for all. It's really Guantes.
All right. 1893, we have Constantine Gamshakurdia, was a Georgian author.
1896, B.K. Charisma Menon, Indian lawyer Jerry Hudson, who was the Indian Minister of Defense.
And his full name was Vangalil Krishna Menon. It's a strange name. Anyway, 1903, Bing Crosby, a U.S. singer and actor. That's a familiar name.
Yes, it is. Also, 1915, Stuart Hart, Canadian wrestler and trainer who founded Stampede Wrestling.
Nice. 1917, George Gainis, a Finnish U.S. actor. I don't need to say anything about that name.
1921, Sugar Ray Robinson, U.S. boxer.
Ah. 3 years later, 1924, Ken Tyrrell was born on this date. He was an English race car driver who founded Tyrrell Racing.
Also, 1928, Jacques Louis Lyons, French mathematician.
Isn't Modelo Especial how lions are made, according to their commercial? I wonder if his parents had a Modelo before, you know. Yeah. Anyway, 1931.
1931, Seth Madden, circus translator, poet, painter, and graphic designer.
1931, James Brown. He was a U.S. singer, songwriter, producer, and actor.
Okay. 1935, Ron Pompey, U.S. businessman who founded the Ronco Company.
1938, we have Napoleon the 14th, a U.S. singer, songwriter, and record producer. But I'm wondering, like, was he actually related to actual Napoleon, or is that just his name? No, his name his actual name is Gerald Samuels. So.
Also, 1940, David Koch, the U.S. engineer, businessman, and philanthropist. I think it is.
So he's part of the Koch brothers?
Or think so.
Koch brothers. Koch family. Let's see here. Let's see here. What's this guy's name? David. Yep. Yeah, he is. He's currently executive vice president of the Koch Industries. So.
1946, Silvano Francisco, South African snooker player.
What's snooker? Like, sounds like some kind of deviant thing. Snooker. Oh,
Can
it's
you-
like pool. Snooker is a cue sport that was first played by British Army officers stationed in India in the second half of the 19th century. It is played at a rectangular table covered with a green cloth called baize, with 6 pockets, one on each corner and one in the middle of each long side. So it's like very much like pool. So interesting. 1955, we have Stephen D.M. Brown, was a British geneticist, and I wonder what his full name was. Let me look it up real quick. Stephen David Macelud Brown. Alright, so that's his full name. Who else was born today? 1958, we have Bill Sienkiewicz, a U.S. author and illustrator.
1967, Kenneth Joel Horst, Canadian producer, writer, director, actor, and comedian.
1971, Douglas Carswell, a British politician who was the first elected MP for the UK Independence Party.
Cool. In 1976, Brad Scott, the Australian footballer and coach.
Ah, cool. And last but not least, 1997, Designer, a U.S. rapper.
Yeah.
Moving on in the deaths today, starting us off in 678, we have Toshi, who was a Japanese princess.
738, Excalibur Uba Kawi, Mayan ruler, Elja.
Aja, or Ahu, is a pre-Columbian Maya political title attested from epigraphic inscriptions. It is also the name of the 20th century day of the, or it's also the name of the 20th day of the Tzolk'in in the Mayan divinatory calendar, on which a ruler's Katun ending rituals would fall. Interesting. 1410, we have Antipope Alexander V.
1481, Mehmed the Conqueror, Ottoman Sultan.
Now this name looks familiar. 1534, we have Juana de la Cruz Vasquez Gutierrez, was a Spanish Roman Catholic nun and venerable. So was she born and died on the same date?
I'm guessing so.
Let me scroll up here. 15. Actually, no, not 15.
1481.
Yeah. Juana de la Cruz Vasquez Gutierrez. That looks the same. So.
And 1621, Elizabeth Bacon, English Tudor gentlewoman.
Yep. See, there was such a thing as a gentlewoman. There's gentlemen, but gentlewomen. Who'd have thunk? 1704, we have Heinrich Ignaz Franz Bieber, a Czech-Austrian violinist and composer.
1763, George Salmanzar, French-English author.
1910, we have Howard Taylor Ricketts, a U.S. pathologist. Isn't rickets like a disease from like the old times or something like?
Yes,
Ah.
in the pirate times.
Ah. I always thought it was more of a frontier disease, but.
Both, really.
Ah, okay.
1916, Tom Clark, Irish rebel.
I support a free Ireland. 1925, Clement Ader died on the States. He was a French engineer who designed the Ader Avion 3. Let's take a look at that real quick.
Okay, right to that. 1943, Ernest Tagenfeld, Finnish assassin of Heikki Ridavori.
This is a strange aircraft. It looks like a reverse bat. Like, that's weird. I'm gonna send it to you in Michaelis here real quick. 1 second. Where's Michaelis? There's Michaelis. Check this out.
I will later.
Okay. Let's see here. 1987, Dalida, an Italian singer, actress, dancer, and model. And then 1988, we have Lev Pontryagin, a Russian mathematician and academic. Their last name sounds like some weird food complaint from a kid. Oh, we're having poultry again? Darn it!
So 1999, Joe Adcock, U.S. baseball player and manager.
2007, we have Nok Yokoyama, a Japanese politician.
2009, Ram Balrusa Sivaka, Indian actor and critic.
Author and critic. But yeah, no offense, but that name sounds like some kind of like really painful spell or some condition. Ram Balkrishna She-Walker? Like, good lord. I'm sorry, she died. I should be more respectful. 2011, we have Jackie Cooper, U.S. actor, television director, producer, and executive.
2013, David Morris Kern, U.S. financial pursuit co-executive, Orgel.
Orgel, oral care for the whole family. Mouth and canker sore pain relief. Okay, that's interesting. And once again, that concludes today's show. Well, not once again, but that concludes today's show. Now, once again, check the underbar for any links that you may find interesting, which also include
Sohan TV on Twitch.
And everything Omni Coalition. For your dose of past events daily, we stream every day between 12 noon and 3 p.m. Pacific time.
2 to 5 Central.
For all of you and all of us, I am Alexander.
Not me.
And you are you, and until you see us tomorrow, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Toodles! Let's go, Brandon.